Hey, glad you can make it. Welcome to Fantasy Dad Pods, where dad bods are glorified and dad jokes are encouraged. I'm JT, accompanied by Sean. Sean, how we doing?
We're not doing too bad. Not doing too bad. Um, Actually, I say that it's doing bad. Our Seahawks just lost, and our Cougars lost this weekend for the first time. Both first losses. Actually, it's terrible. The sky's falling down. Our pets' heads are falling off. Whatever analogy you want to give. No, it's going pretty good. It's still sunny out here. I think it's like the perfect time of the year, JT. It's in the 70s, high 70s. It's like perfect. It's like perfect. I don't know how much
Mm-hmm.
longer we have it for, but it's perfect. This is why you do what you do. You get a yard outside. This is it. Like it's glorious. No, we what did we do this weekend, kids wise? I can't remember. We went to man. What did we do? You go first. How was your weekend? I'm drawing a blank.
Um,
I can't remember.
Weekend ended poorly, but football games Saturday for the kids were good. Um, let's see. The oldest team is now 3-1. They had their first lost that first week, and they've gone three in a row with some close matchups, just winning by one score each, but playing well and winning kind of in the second half when it matters. So that's been really good. And the youngest is just having an okay time with flag football. It's more social than
Yeah.
anything. He did a triple reverse, not that I called the play, but he just ran side to side, triple reverse, and then bumped heads with one of the defenders and then had to sit out a series. So that wasn't very fun. But he came back in and I tried to incentivize him with some candy to at least try on defense because he was like, "No, I'm not running the ball again. Kids headbutt me." I was like, "Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
happened once, so now it's not going to
Yeah.
happen every time." But and then yeah, Sunday was just I'm never going to that golf course ever again. Is how I'm going to phrase it. Took the kids. Said me for 9 holes. My oldest 9 holes. The youngest, he's literally gonna like hit like the tee shot and then just join us and then putt out. I mean, like that's how I phrased
Yeah.
it. So I was kind of like, if you want to charge me, but like our
Yeah.
pace of play is going to be pretty tidy. So, if you save me $10, I'm not opposed to it. But again, it's only $10, so whatever.
Yeah.
So, we usually use Grandpa's cart, but Grandpa wasn't with us, but he's instilled in them that they can drive the cart. Well, we're about to take off. There's a whole kerfuffle about the oldest wanting to drive the cart, and it's not a hill I'm willing to die on in the moment. And I just say, okay. And then the owner drives up on his cart and he's just like, hey, kids can't drive the cart. And I'm just like, all right, you're the captain. Like,
Yeah.
my bad. You caught me. It's only illegal if you get caught, and you caught me.
Yeah.
So then we start playing, and we're about to putt out on the second hole, and the owner shows up again. And just the whole exchange was I was trying to scam him, and he's trying to run a business, and I didn't pay for my youngest. I'm like, dude, I just told you how we're gonna play. You can charge me how you charge me. Like,
Yeah.
I if you like if you just even if you just came by super nicely and be like, hey, your youngest is, in my opinion, paying the $10 worth. I'll hand you
Yeah.
$10. I'm not. But just the way
Yeah.
he went about it and my history with him, which is a whole nother story, but he still owes me a reffing paycheck from when I was 15 years old. Um,
Okay.
so it just was like, so we went back and forth. It was pretty cordial. And I was calling him by his first name, and I don't think he knows who I am. He might recognize me, but he has
Yeah.
no idea who I am. And I was like, cool. I wish I had, um, I don't know. It was what it was. He offered a refund. I took him up on it. We bought a bucket to try to salvage the day.
Yeah.
Kids got to hit a full bucket, and then I left. And I was like, you know what? This isn't worth it. There's plenty of other little golf courses around here. I don't need to go here ever
I was
again.
gonna say
So
there's where we live. There's golf courses. It's not.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're worried about business, you just lost me. I'm not going to make a big deal of it, but I'm just super frustrated. So
I get it. It's JT. You're pretty recognizable. You, for those that don't know, you're big, tall, and you got red hair. Like I remember, that's how I remembered you growing up in the basketball scene in our local area. I was like, big tall redhead kid,
Yeah.
post player. Like I was like, yeah, you're. If he didn't recognize you, that's on him. Like I was just like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, it's funny you say that because that same league, I remember Derek Angerman's
Yeah,
dad was
yeah.
coaching in that league. In the game we played him, I think I scored 30 in the game. I had an amazing game, and I think I had like 7 threes. And at halftime, I'm in the halfway into this whole game, and he walks over, and he goes, "What the hell's going on?" And he goes, "I thought we're playing zone defense because I thought you'd just post us up and just demolish us." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you guys got a whole bunch in the key. I'm feeling it. I'm shooting well. Like come guard
Yeah,
me." So then they
yeah.
switched to man to man, and then I just
You just
finished them
post
off
him
in
up.
the post. So it's
Yeah,
just like I'll just take what I can get. So,
yeah.
but yeah, if whatever. But the weekend before was a lot of good dad stuff. I literally changed every filter you could possibly change within your property.
Cars.
Cars
There you go.
included.
That's where I was gonna go.
Cabin
Yep.
filter, air filter on the house, irrigation filter I cleaned out. What other filters are there? There's a couple other filters that were like,
You're gonna change of the year, so that's why you're. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
yeah, there's something else where it was like low key, you don't think about. I was like, I changed it or cleaned it or something. It was just like fall's coming and it's time to do this. So,
It was funny. Did you put the little styrofoam on the little grates for your under your house, your little vents under your house?
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that was today actually,
Okay.
or
I was.
yesterday. Yeah.
It was funny because my dad, we live on the same block, and we usually just like we blow out sprinklers or do stuff like that. He'll be like, "Hey, I'll schedule it, and you throw on yours, and you just pay me." Kind of, like two birds, one stone, same street. Let's go to the same person. They just go, they'll do you down the street. We're good. And he texted me like 2 weeks ago. It was 91 outside. He's like, "Hey, what do we think about blowing out sprinklers?" I'm like, "It's 91 outside. Like, let's just." It's 2 weeks ago. I was like, "Let's just chill. We don't need to do it this week." But it's 91 as I'm standing outside right now. Not now is the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I think it got to like 78 today. So I'm like, okay, we can start to have the conversation. But 2 weeks ago was not the time for the conversation. He was getting a little
Right.
antsy on the itchy trigger finger there, Grandpa. But I remember what we did. There was a little park by Country Mercantile, had a little outdoor party for all the local
Mm-hmm.
people. We know a couple of the people who live locally there, so like, oh, we can invite guests. So they invite us over there, and so there was a little playground, everything like that, and there was 2 bounce houses, but they were pretty packed. So my oldest was like, I don't know about that. And then face painting, and we waited in line for face painting, and he got a
Nice.
on his face. He's pretty pumped about that. And then we got some. Went to Country Mercantile, and then got him a hot dog and ice cream for the 2 kiddos. So that was a pretty good day. He's all about the dinosaur. Then I had to break it to him that he had to take a shower when he got home. That was most of the
Um,
conversation. The dinosaur was going to be on his face for literally ever. So yeah, he thought it was going to be on his face forever. I was like, that's a tattoo, and don't ask about that. Like,
don't ask what a tattoo is. Yeah.
yeah, don't ask that. But yeah, he was like, it's gonna be on my face, and I'm like, well, like we're gonna have a conversation in this bathtub here. So, but yeah, I mean, he was a little upset at first, but he handled it better than I thought he would. So that was our weekend. That was our weekend. Was the dinosaur, and
Nice.
then immediately moving the dinosaur, which I agree on him was kind of lame. If it had been earlier in the day, it would have been really like to do it earlier in the day so he could have had it on his face more. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
3 4 hours out of it. So, and it was free, so it's fine. It's fine. It's
Okay.
can't beat that really. So we did spend most of our time there because they have little stores and food and everything, and spent most of our time in the line to get face painted. But he enjoyed it, so
Uh,
uh, that was
do you
good.
guys ever go out to Middleton's?
That's what we think we were gonna try to do. But I think we're gonna try to do that next weekend for both of our boys' birthdays because the
Mm-hmm.
uncle's coming to town. So I think we might sneak out and try to go to Milton Farms that
Oh,
one of
okay.
those days. So whenever
Yeah.
he gets into town. So that's gonna be a long weekend next weekend for us. Back to back birthday parties, but we're kind of used to it at this point. I feel like we're kind of it's a long
Yeah.
weekend either way. Although like most of the weekends now have at least one birthday party, if not two. So that one just is like when you plan one, it's a little bit extra work. So you kind of gotta do a little bit. It's a little more hours in versus just taking kid to a birthday party and then pulling them out and you're like, okay, I'm done.
Right. And
So
ours is like the full weekend because we're gonna do the bounce house obstacle course in the backyard,
yeah,
and have it Friday through Sunday. So there's no school on Friday.
yeah,
So we invited school friends Friday, both for the oldest and the youngest, and then Saturday the rest of the friends,
yeah,
like our friends
yeah,
and
yeah,
like cousins and stuff. And then Sunday's gonna be like the cake and ice cream with family
yeah.
and stuff. So yeah, should be good.
Perfect.
We've done it the last 2 years, and the weather's
Yeah,
been good, and usually it holds through. And so yeah, it's pretty fun. Great. That's all my youngest wants. He's just like, "Are we doing the bounce house again this year?" I'm like, "There's other things to do." Like, give him ideas, and that's all he wants. And I'm like,
that's what we had. That's what we
"Okay."
want to do. Forever. We do the bounce house. I'm telling you, but obviously you know this, but we do the bounce
Hmm.
house as well. But we were like, where do you want to go somewhere? Do you want to do something? And he kept going back and forth, and he wants to this, and he wants to go that, and then he finally had it. We're like, okay, we got to narrow something down because we got to like pick a birthday party.
Right.
And so he was like, I want to go to this little iPlay place. We're like, okay,
Hmm.
still makes sense.
The 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 part that I've talked to my wife about being feel like kind of like parental, like you're not lying to him, but you feel a little fraudulent because you're not like just openly telling them all the info. Is like the bounce house is a good chunk of change.
Hmm.
And that's all the youngest wants to do. The
Yeah,
oldest, all he wants to do for his party every year is rent out a gymnasium through the city of Kennewick, and it's only like $50 for 2 hours.
yeah,
And he's like, we're gonna play all the sports: kickball, dodgeball, basketball, soccer. We play all the sports for 2 hours. I invite as many friends as I want, and he's like, and it's the equivalent, and that's the
yeah,
whole thing. It's
yeah.
like they're both having the time of their lives. One is 10x more than the other, and it's just like I kind of feel guilty, but it's just like, you know what, like this is what you guys are about, so I guess you know
One kid wants McDonald's and the other one wants filet mignon. But like if what it's what they want, it's what they want. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, where are we
it's
going for
what
your
you want.
birthday?
Yeah,
Yeah.
your birthday is what you want. Like my birthday dinner, it was a weekday or whatever, and so I was like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "Well, Grandma will pick it up." I was like, "Let's just do Pizza Hut or something like that." It's Grandma could get it. No one has to cook nothing. Like,
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, so let's just do some pizza. Like, let's just chill it out. So I get it. I get it. Both kids like. I guess I'm more Garrett in that regard, but like let's go cheaper. But
Right.
it's fine with me. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. So last little baseball talk of the year. Baseball's over unless you're in some crazy league, which that'd be interesting. But congrats to all the winners out there and the losers. Better next year. But JT, thoughts on this year's fantasy in general?
um I feel like in general, like in terms of like, how would you phrase it, like I feel like it's a lot easier to be a successful pitcher than a successful hitter. Like, the value of hitters to me is starting to swing to those like 2010s kind of era, like we saw like a little over a decade ago, where it was really easy to find some really good pitchers, but the top tier quality hitters were more valuable because there was less of them. And that's just kind of my vibe looking at the overall stats, how the season ended. And it's just like, as long as your pitcher goes deep into a game to at least get the win or the quality start, depending on your league, like I feel like it was a whole lot more common. I mean, obviously, unless you're a Detroit Tigers arm.
Yeah,
Um, but that's kind of what my look back is, just like, oh, like it would have, yeah, I felt good about all the drafts that it was in, and how it all played out is how that's just how it is. It's just like, oh man, there's so much more value to be had out of the pitchers later, where it's like, oh, could have spent more capital earlier in the draft, whether, it was, depending on your draft type, but like I could have used more of the early picks, or budget on hitters earlier and just secured a more stable core and probably had a less of a rotation for the hitters. I don't know. That's what I'm dwelling on. How about you?
So to a extent, I agree, but I feel like there are two camps. I feel like in baseball, I feel like the positions did the same thing. There are like a couple monsters in pitching, Skubal, Chris Sale, just like super efficient, tons of strikeouts, great. Zach Wheeler, you could throw him in there, had a great year, quite a quietly great year because I feel like it went Skubal and then Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens great year, but obviously didn't pitch the whole season, but
Mm-hmm.
had a great year while he was up. I feel like those four kind of just like there's some other pitchers you could kind of throw in a category, but I'm just talking like ERA, WHIP, and strikeouts and things like that. Like pretty much dominated the whole thing. Those
Mm-hmm.
four were head and shoulders, I think, above everybody else. But I also think in terms of hitting, you had Otani, you had Judge, you had Bobby Witt. You could throw in Jose Ramirez. We love Jose Ramirez in this podcast. But like, there's a bunch of guys that are would say maybe a little, maybe there's a lot of close pitchers too. But like, there's the elites of both. And then there's guys that you could kind of throw in a lot of like lower tier guys, but there's like four guys in each that like if you had one or happened to get lucky on one of them and got both, you probably were winning your league. Like you know what I mean? Like if you got a Scooble and you got like a Judge or like a Bobby Witt, like you are clean in house. Like obviously it depends on the rest of your team. You had to like not just totally whiff on everything, but you didn't punt other positions. Like those four guys carried like rotations and carried hitting, especially like a Judge or an Otani went 50-50. You didn't have to do that
Mm-hmm.
other than that. So like I feel like I agree with you other than the fact of the four beasts in both probably. And
Yeah.
if I looked at it probably a little closer at pitchers, you could maybe squeeze a couple others in there. But I feel like those four, you could say like shortstop for the Mets of drawing blank um
Lindor.
Lindor. A lot of his defense, a lot of his war came from defense, but still had a great year. But like, I feel like you look at the WAR guys, and there's a bunch of guys with like 7, and then there's like other guys with 4, or like 10, 8, 8, 8. Otani gets a little bumped down because he didn't play defense, but you know what I mean. Like just pure offense, like WRC plus of like 180 plus or 170 plus, and then a bunch of stolen bases, and then a couple other guys but they're definitely like even I guess it's a long point of saying like there's a tier 1, then there might be just like if we're just going like standard deviations, there's just not a tier 2. Then it goes like tier 3 because the other guys are so much higher than I think than everybody else. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what really stood out for me. It was like, oh my gosh, there's like tiers. And then yeah, like I feel like there are more tier 3 pitchers than tier 3 hitters. And to your point, like you need to go hard on those hitters early because they went quicker because that tier 3 is really big for pitchers. There's a lot of pitchers that you could talk me into tier 3,
Right.
but like, and this is again skipping tier 2. Like you could then a lot more than you could pitch for tier 3 because that it clumps really fast in terms of hitting. Because I think hitting, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a lot of just things were like guys might have had great years but were hurt a lot with bats that I feel like could have taken a step had they played a full season. But there was just a lot of that. Like, oh, this guy missed some time, or this guy missed some time, or this guy didn't get hot right away. Like we talked about, Corbin Carroll down year, Julio Rodriguez down year, Mookie Betts got hurt, Freddie Freeman got hurt. Like it just feels like all of these like hitters that were like, okay, we're elite hitters, we're great hitters. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna miss like a month and a half here, and their total numbers suffered because of it. Whereas you could like, in pitching, like you just like Logan Gilbert is gonna go 208 innings and just be really solid and super good. But there's a lot of Cole Reagans that do the same thing. I could keep going. Dylan Cease, Michael King. Like, there's just a ton of guys. Aaron Nola, like, yeah, his ERA's, mid threes, right? But like it's still like tons of strikeouts, quality starts. Like, depending on what your league is, like, I just feel like there's a ton of guys you're like, yeah, that's tier 2. Corbin Burns, sub 3 ERA. Like, we're just like, boom, Seth Lugo, like guys that just like these guys hammer in tier 3, and a lot of guys in the hitting would have hammered tier 3, but they just missed this time or started off really slow. And
Right.
it felt like a down year for the middle hitters. The elite hitters are fine, but the middle hitters really suffered.
Yep.
Do you think
I was just
it could,
good.
like, are you going to go based into next year based off of that?
I think so. I feel like I've been like in this like oh man, what are they going to do with the baseball? Like that was such a weird thing we went through, and
That's
I
gonna be a
feel
thing
like
every year, though. I feel I
I
feel like
feel
every
like
year it's gonna go.
yeah, I feel like the last 2 years have been similar. So it's just like, hopefully they won't
Hopefully,
pull the
yeah.
rug, but
Then it's a juice ball, and the hitter's just gonna go
yeah,
bananas.
so it's
Yeah,
just that was really frustrating
yeah.
for those years. But oh yeah, overall, I feel like, but maybe that's just me, and just the way I draft is I do draft heavy in pitching, and I do run deep with a lot of starting pitchers, and that's just kind of
I,
when
I, I
I
think I think for you, we're the same way. I think for you, I view it as like I got 5 starters that I want to be comfortable in because I feel like one guy gets blown up in a bad start. Oh my gosh! But like if I have a hitter who's not hitting for a week, I notice it less. I'm like, okay, he's struggling in the lineup, but oh, my catcher got 2 home runs or something like that. But like I have one of my 5 starters get blown up. It's just like ugh, there's a 4 right down. It's Thursday and I have a 4 ERA and I got to try to find a way to get it down. It's so much more noticeable if you have a wink link in your rotation in fantasy than it is in your bats. I feel like
yeah.
is that how you feel? Yeah,
Yeah, it was amazing to me when I'm like, okay, you're trying to like meet this like threshold of like, you're talking about tiers, and I'm like, okay, sub 4 ERA, sub 1-2 whip, solid K per night, and I'm just like, oh my god, there's so many dudes
John
like
Mania
this,
just hit that. You just you know what I mean?
right?
Like
And
yeah,
then whereas on the flip side, it's just like, okay, how many guys went 2020, or how many went 25-15, or just like these different. It's like it's really so. I mean, or I looked at J Ram today. He went 39 doubles, 39 home runs, 41 steals, and I saw online someone talking about he's no Albert Bell, 50-50, 50 doubles, 50 home runs. That I forget which year it was. Um, somewhere in, I think, in the 90s. But it's just like some of these years, just like it, like you said, like the top hitters were taking up so much attention. It's just like there's a lot of really good seasons, and it's just like it just I mean, we had a catcher in Milwaukee go 23 home runs, 9 steals with 99 runs and 92 RBIs. Like it's just like that is a really good catcher. Like
yeah,
holy cow. That's so many counting stats with a 281 average, or if you're in a on base, a 365 on base. Like
yeah,
what a year Willem Contreras had. Like
yeah.
it's there's all these nuggets that you can find, and it'll be more just coming off of it, but
How many 2020s were there this year? I counted them, so I'd have guessed, but I know
12.
19.
Okay, so quite a few
There, I
more.
mean, you get down to 21-20. It still counts, but there's a couple that like squeaked in. You know what I mean? Like a lot. I got down to the wire. And I think like 6 of them squeaked in at the like. Okay, you had either 20 or 21. Kind of thing.
Hmm.
So yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, there was like I feel like yeah, you're correct. There's like I mean I'm looking at it like yeah, it's Aaron Judge, Juan So or Shohei Ohtani, and then you could even, man, I almost question like just the sheer value of like what Ellie De La Cruz did, 2567. You know what I mean? Like that's a ton. That is a ton.
Hmm.
And like you said, quietest almost 40-40 ever, 39-40 for the one for J Ram. Like it's just I mean Juan Soto went 128, 109, 129. Like 129 walks. Like triple that's the thing we should look at, triple digits in 3 categories. Aaron Judge did it, Kyle Schwarber did it, and that's it. That's impressive.
Wow. Yeah.
Like those are the 3. They're the only 3 that had over 100 walks this season, and they all had over 100 RBIs and 100 runs, and they all had 38 home runs or more. Kyle Schwarber rather say the 38. But yeah, it's just I feel like even with that, it's just like there was. I feel like some of these guys like I needed to because like Brett Rooker, where's he going to go next year? JT, you think outfield like third round, maybe second round. I mean, third round he went 40 this year, like a 370 on base. He's got
Right.
like you can't let him get past the third round on that one. Like, you might not have believed it, but like, guy who has 40 bombs is not going past the third round. Because if nothing else, he's going to play in a bandbox in Sacramento. Like, boom, like that. And that's what I'm saying. Like,
That's true.
Brent
That's gonna
Rooker
be
is going to go nuts. And we're not even talking about Brent Rooker. Like, these guys, like in order to get a Brent Rooker level player, you're going to have to get him in the third round next year. Pitching is going to be like in abundance everywhere. And I feel like you're right. People like hitters are just going to be like, they're going to go flying off the board because you need these guys. Let me just see. Like, I was looking at catcher here. Like, even the good catchers like Shane Langeliers, like second most home runs of the season, just a sub 300 on base. And you talked about William Contreras, like that was a dude. Cal Raleigh, like 34 bombs, 100 home runs. But like, other than that, there's like guys who are like nice. Even Adley Rutschman, really down here for Adley Rutschman. So I'm like, you get one of the two guys who really produced last year, or hope for a bounce back, and then that's it. Like, you're done. Like, it's just like there's nothing, and you're like, oh my gosh, like even more than a couple of years. So I just feel like there's a lot that like, I mean, there are two second basemen who hit more than 21 home runs this year, and Marcus Semien hit 23. Like, there was one truly elite. Mookie Betts again didn't play a full season, so probably was going to get there, but still, like Marte, who was hurt a good chunk of the year too, is over 100 bats. Like, only guy who was like, wow, awesome. So I feel like some of these guys, you're like the third most home runs was Christopher Morel for Tampa Bay. Like, where are you jumping at the bit to get this guy on your team? So I'm just like, then you get Jose Altuve at 20 home runs, but he's going to be, I don't know, 80 at that point. Like, I just feel like there's a huge every single position at hitting has a huge cliff, and you're just like, if people stare at it now, and I'm just like, oh gosh, you better get your guys before they're gone, because like in the second round or third round, like let's say like this year, I drafted Corbin Burns first round, in one league. I was like 13th or something like that. That's do I pull the trigger on that one now, or do I like, man, what's going to be there? Like, I'm okay waiting then at that point, because it's more of like what hitter did I avoid taking versus that. And it's just that's a cliff. That is a cliff that I got to worry about. Yeah, our boy Tovar, 6th most home runs for shortstops, and I'm just like, you never would have thought that coming to the season, but that's what happened this year. A guy above him, Willie Adames. Like I'm just like, you know, like it's just like the names, you know, like Gunnar Henderson, Lindor, Bobby Witt, but then it's just like Corey Seager got hurt a bunch, like things like that, like Ellie Cruz, hot, cold. You know, things like that. And then it's like Trey Turner, only 21, like O'Neal Cruz, CJ Abrams. A lot of guys were like, yeah, we're fine. Dansby Swanson, everyone's like, oh, drafting Dansby Swanson, sign his deal, like 16 home runs, 19 RBIs, like, but that's a fine, but that's fine for like round 15. You know what I mean? Like, I need a guy who plays shortstop or a middle infielder, not a guy who I got to start. And we're talking about top 12 shortstops. And I'm just like, oh. So,
yeah. And then at least with Ellie, I mean, he's probably transitioning to outfield next year. I would assume is what word on the street is.
Yeah, I mean, O'Neal Cruz officially is. Like, he already is.
Oh, are they both? Gosh, I'm getting my cruises mixed up.
Ellie Cruz played a little third base.
Oh, that's right.
With Marte coming up again, Novella Marte struggled like crazy when he came back up. Had an awful year. So it's just like, does he play third? Where's he gonna go? But like, it's just like, yeah, like he might even switch off of that. Like,
Mason might get one more year of shortstop out of either of them.
Like, people are big on Volpe. Did not take that step forward. You know, Mason Wynn did not take that step forward. What's the biggest guy on the rise is Tyler Fitzgerald, apparently. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, other than like Jackson Merrill, but like everyone kind of knew Jackson Merrill was going to be a thing. But like, it's just like there's like just huge drop offs at all these positions, and so like even more, I think noticeable. You're right. Like, there's elite guys. Like,
yeah, I'm scared for shortstop because
Vlad at third, but then there's a cliff. I mean, Devers got hurt. That's why he's fun. The 5th guy is Jake Berger. Like, I'm just like, what are we doing? I got down to Jake. I missed on, you know, they could all go around, win a round. I'm like, okay, I need a third baseman. Boom, they're all gone. I'm like, the best third baseman on the board is Jake Berger. Like, what do we do? Like, you know, Matt Chapman, maybe. Like, if you think he's going to steal 15 bases again, that's not happening. But, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, ugh. Yeah. And I'm going primarily off it. You can argue that, like, you know, Billy did a Cruz as third base eligibility, things like that. But I choose to ignore those guys. But, yeah, It's just cliffs.
But I was
Cliffs.
looking at fielding and stuff, and I remember Willie Adamas was really negative in fielding. So it's like, is that writing on the wall? Like
He's done in Milwaukee, so where's he gonna go?
that's a lot of shortstops that could be
Yeah.
only shortstop eligible just for 2025, and then
Yep.
dot dot dot.
Yeah. So it's hitting was definitely down. I feel like across the board. There
Yeah.
was I mean, you're talking a guy who rostered Julio and Corbin, so it was rough right off the rip for me. But I was like, oh, this they get last year. I'm sitting pretty. That didn't sit pretty. Did not sit pretty. But that's okay. That's okay. It was a good year. It's a good year for baseball. So, but I think it's football time now. Everyone wants to hear about football.
Football.
Football. Let's start with some injuries. I think the big one that happened was Rashid Rice on Sunday. I think they officially have it. I think is it ACL? Is that they're testing ACL, MCL? I can't remember.
Yeah.
ACL. Yeah, they're checking as ACL. Probably not good, but haven't heard anything yet. That's the problem doing a podcast when we do this one was we're still haven't heard a lot of these officially what these rulings are, but it does not go good. He's definitely not playing next week, and I would be shocked if he doesn't go on IR at some point. Probably 4 weeks, but I think that's for sure. What did you see? What did you see, JT? Did you see anything worth? I see Chubb is going to start practicing. Nick Chubb. I would wait
Yeah.
at least probably week 8. Is probably what I would say is a reasonable expectation. He has 21 days to officially be activated, so he's got 3 weeks, and it'll be to week 7. But I think they'll activate him, but he will not play that first game active. I think it'll take him a couple weeks. They'll be safe with him. So, but that is a good sign in this step forward for those that rostered Nick Chubb and to stash him away like yours truly. But I think it's still a ways off.
Yeah. The running back, just all of them actually for
That's a running back too.
Miami.
Yeah.
Just God, Mostert was out for
Yeah.
tonight. Yeah, it just and then who was it? Jeff Wilson Jr. questionable, injured knee pregame.
Yeah.
So I don't think any of them long term, but I know Jalen Wright was like kind of one of those dark horse deep league. Like, oh man, if he gets a chance, it could be something fun. But I don't know. Maybe he'll get a few more reps going into next week, depending on what we're dealing with here. But
I just think, as you can see, Achan just did not do anything. And I think it's one of those, like, people are figuring out if you don't have a passing attack, they're just going to stack the box and it doesn't matter. Like,
for
because
sure.
the quarterback play in Miami right now is I mean, JT might as well get out there. You're over 6 feet tall. See over the line. I mean, like,
Right.
what are we doing at this point? That's the thing I don't get. Sorry, a little tangent about real football here. But, like, how do you get to a point? I was texting a buddy, went to Boise State. They played the Cougars, and they're like, why didn't the Cougars stack the box? Or you don't have a guy who can pass the ball. I'm like, why don't you have a guy who could at least throw the ball a little bit? NFL, you're an NFL team. How do you get in there back? We don't trust our backup. Like,
It's
for 3 guys.
yeah.
You got to find somebody on the street that you could throw a 10-yard pass. Like, how do we get to this situation? So I'm just like, it was. I mean, Seahawks fans been so. I was like,
Well,
I'll take it last week when they were. But I'm like, I'm like, how did we get to like Skylar Thompson? Like, how are we at this point? Like, you know what I mean?
right,
Like,
especially with Tua. Like,
yeah,
I have
yeah,
Tua.
yeah,
Like, why am I not? Like, shoot, the Colts knew the assignment. They got Flacco. Flacco is
yeah,
more than capable. We don't want to break, the glass in case of injury. Well, guess what? Richardson comes out first drive,
yeah.
and Flacco, admirable.
Yeah.
He
Play
did what they
well.
needed to do.
I can understand if you're the Chiefs and it's Mahomes or Allen and the Bills. They're your team. If they're out, you're out. But like, you you know, you've got Anthony Richardson who's got some injury history. You've got Tua's got some injury history, and they run and they do these things, and they're maybe not the franchise yet, kind of thing. And I'm like, you got to have a contingency plan here. The
Yeah,
Packers didn't even believe in they believe in Love. They paid him a little bit, but they sort of like, we could do some of this Malik Willis guy. Let's find a guy we like. It doesn't have to be the best guy, but it's like something we can do something with, which is just like makes some of these decisions that some of these teams make. So it's like, what are we doing? So Tim Boyle is like going to get a snap, maybe. Like what? I
yeah.
guess get your paychecks, guys. But Tyler Huntley, Ute. There you go. But yeah, I don't get it.
Andy Jolt, Ginger Power.
Man,
So
JT. just a red rifle. I invested in Carolina Panthers wide receivers, and Andy Dalton threw 2 touchdowns this week, both to my guys. There you go.
Dang.
There you go. 2 for 2 on that one. Thanks, Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, they'll be down, buddy. I love that situation. I think the coaches they have there, head coach, great with quarterback, made Geno into who he is, helped make Geno into who he is. Russell, same thing. Helped Baker take a step last year. His track record is great. It's more of a, I think Bryce Young just got like a raw deal the year before. It's still affecting him this year. He needs to just sit for a second. And Dalton's like, look, this is a competent offense. We have some pieces. I'll show you how to use it. And here's what it is. I don't think Love is like, or not Love. Bryce Young is broken. It's just like a lot. Last year sucked. It's one of those you saw with Trevor Lawrence. It sucks. So like, set him down, let him do his thing, and then
Right.
come in here and fire it up. I'm like, so I think this offense going forward, there are some pieces to like about this offense. So don't be afraid of the Carolina Panthers anymore. Actually, rush to kind of pick up some guys. I'll talk about it later to pick up, but I actually like some pieces here. But
yeah, I could see the game script could favor that as as long as it's competent and it's
Yeah.
So injuries, JT ankle sprain. So kind of gonna roll with that questionable into next week as well. So that's just a bummer for the entirety of the Colts offense in general.
Yeah, it sounds like Anthony Richardson will be fine. He could have played if he had to, but like you said, they got a capable backup in Joe Flacco. He's kind of hurt. Why risk it? Just run out your capable backup out there. Any other huge fantasy? I don't think. A lot of like questionables, but I think a lot of the questionables will play. So I think we're okay. Did you want to go into some pickups? Let's do some pickups. Let's do some.
Okay.
Let's do some guys. We could do quarterbacks, I guess. The 2 that I like are the 2. Now, is Sam Darnold got a little tinge of ginger in that beard? He does. He does have some ginger in that beard. A little. So the two redheaded bearded children. Like, I just saying, Andy Dalton. I love O'Connell in that team too. And what they do with those quarterbacks, like, I just think that, like, again, this is definitely not like he should be starting your games for you. But if you have like a Tua that just need a couple weeks, you have bye weeks are starting next week. Like let's next week. I think it's the week after. Is it the week after? Is it week 5? I can't remember. Like, I think is it week 5? Then the new week threw off everything. It used to be after week 4, but I don't know. I don't know anymore. They're coming up either way, next week or the following week.
Right.
I feel like those 2 are you like serviceable to get you through a week. Andy Dalton plays the Bears. Like, and everyone's like, oh, the Bears, just Bears, Atlanta, Washington. Go for it. Like, absolutely, I'm not scared of any of those defenses. Now, okay, here we go. I do see Sam Darnold. So he plays the Jets, probably not picking up against the Jets bye week, and then Detroit, Rams, and Indy. That's fine. The Jags, the Titans, that's fine. If you have a bye week there, absolutely go for it. Is there somebody you like, JT?
Are you buying into Justin Fields?
No.
is like,
if he gets 2 rushing touchdowns a week, then yes, absolutely.
Well, okay, I'm not saying he's going to score over 30 every week, but like he put up 19 last week against the Chargers. Threw a touchdown, threw a pick. He did rush for a touchdown also in that game.
He's been better, but that's a pretty point and click. Like, it's like, hey, don't screw this up. And when he plays like defenses and they figure this out and they stack the box, it's going to get messy. He just is not like his offense is like throw a 50-50 jump ball to Pickens, and Pickens honestly is super good at that, and Pickens catches it because that's what Pickens is designed for. That's why I thought when Russell came here, I was like, oh, that Russell throws jump balls all day in Seattle, and Pickens is just going to live off that because that's what Pickens is so good with the ball in the air. His body control is amazing. And so I was like, oh, that's what he needs to do. And Justin Fields is like that. He's like, I'm just in trouble, throw a ball. And it's not even a great ball. And Pickens is like, I get it. And then he rushes for some touchdowns. And most of his yards come from like screens and things like that, which fantasy does not matter. But I don't know the sustainability of that. Like, it looks definitely in Indy, looked more like an NFL offense. Indy's defense isn't good, but it looked like an NFL offense. The previous 3 weeks just looked awful. It just did not look like an NFL team. I mean, I think going into this week, they had 3 touchdowns as an offense, and they had 3 this week. Justin Fields had all 3, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's a good offense
I
still.
don't think so either. I think I was just trying to talk myself into it because of Richardson's injury, and he's my second quarterback in a
Yeah.
2 QB league. And so I'm like, I don't have a backup. If he's not playing next week, I need to, figure it out. And Fields was available, and I was just like, I think just for a 1 week against Dallas, I'm like, maybe.
Oh, against Dallas, yeah,
you
I
know?
think Dallas has issues. Yeah, so,
Yeah,
like,
so
well, if you need one next week, I'm picking up Geno Smith against the Giants.
ooh.
So I think that Geno Smith is playing very well. They just need to give him a shot. And he was also like they handed the ball off a ton, and there, Kenneth Walker had 3 touchdowns.
Mhm.
If they throw it, like DK Metcalf was an inch away from scoring a touchdown today, and that 4 more points, all these other things. Like it's just like if they chose to run the ball on the goal line a bunch, it's totally fine for real. But like I feel like one of those like Geno sneaks it in or throws another touchdown, like the game, his fantasy, it all changes. So I feel like he played really well today. So I feel like
Well,
he's a good pickup.
I think 395 yards passing is good. And didn't I don't know how it ended up. He at least had 55 attempts the last time I
He had 56,
saw
so
it
yeah, 30.
live. Okay.
Yeah. So
Like,
68 went
wow.
percentage, 400 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble, or an interception. But like I said, I didn't see the interception. It must have been like end of the game or something like that. But yeah, it's more of like he had a really really good game, and just from like script and like so unlucky, just didn't get a couple of touchdowns that he probably would have gotten. He had a 2 point conversion that should have probably been called, but wasn't called. So it's probably closer to, like you said, like honestly, probably pretty close to like a 30-point game. Is how he played. But
Yeah, that's true.
so I feel like against the Giants, he'll put up some numbers, and he's been
It,
pretty efficient. The O line is the only reason he doesn't have more points. But I feel like once they get things kind of figured out, it'll be a lot more. He'll be starting to put up some numbers because that receiving core running back combo really good. The offense needs to just hold them up a little bit, and it's sky's the limit for them. And they're clearly turning into a pass first offense, which with those weapons, that's very good in
yeah.
fantasy. So I feel like yes, Geno Smith, like
Although
absolutely,
I feel like their red zone passing packages
yeah,
could be a little better.
yes,
But that's just Seahawks
yes,
fan in
no,
me. That's not the fantasy type of thought. I just the interception to end the game is what you didn't see, and then I don't know the red zone possession before was just
it was awful.
like that
Yeah,
fail. And he didn't expect the snap, but then he just kind of like faded it. So it was just like
they
even just the route. I was just like, it just
their
seemed
two
odd.
point conversion routes were just like confusing. Like DK's never
Hmm.
been like a one on one. I'm gonna beat you to spot like real close. Like he's just never been that guy. And I'm like, why do we keep throwing this to him? Like you have 2
Right?
backup safeties, just run stuff across the middle of the field. They're gonna get confused. Like you have 3
Yeah.
monster wide receivers. Let them go crazy. They know each other. Trust you. You know each other better than those 2 backups do. And I'm just like, they didn't do it. And I'm like, okay, fine. Yeah, I think those are the big pickups. Is there anybody that you're like done with this guy?
Of anyone? Oh
Is there?
man,
It doesn't have to be like a crazy like superstar baby guy you picked up and you're like, okay, we're kind of done here.
all
I
tight ends. Oh,
oh no, I just meant quarterbacks. I'm done
oh,
with
we're staying on
Matthew
quarterback. Okay.
Stafford. Not because of Matthew Stafford, just because there's nothing there. Watching
Yeah.
the game, I'm like, I saw a tweet that goes, everyone's like, he put up 18 points against the Bears, and someone goes, if this is like 90% of NFL quarterbacks, this team has 0 points. Matthew
Hmm.
Stafford, they're saying is playing great, but there's only so much he's gonna be able to do. And it was just like he threw one really dumb pick, but like other than that, it's just like I watched part of the game because it's on red zone, and I'm just like, there's nobody. There's just nobody. They're all constantly have guys in the backfield, and it's just like I don't think he's gonna have a prayer. Same with Justin Herbert. I think how they're managing Justin Herbert, he is banged. Have you watched the game, JT? Because I know you love some Justin Herbert. He is banged up.
I watched a lot of it last week. I just saw a couple snaps this week.
Yeah, he is beat up. He is beat up. They need to like, and they're going to, and I think that's why like fantasy wise, I'm like, we're done. Like at least for a while, because I'm like they're gonna take it easy with him. They're gonna pound the ball. They're just gonna because like he is just
And it makes more sense with Herbert. That's almost the situation you thought they were walking into, and that's why he was drafted so low and all that stuff. With Stafford, would you, if you could, I mean, rather bench him and wait for the right wide receiver core to come back in 2 weeks is what they're estimating.
It all depends on what my other option is. But
Sure.
I'd probably no.
Is
I
Stafford worth keeping? Like it's, I
no.
feel like
I
it's
don't
a
think
valid
Stafford's worth.
question at this point.
I don't think Stafford's worth keeping because my receivers could get healthy, but like he still has 2 third-string linemen out there, and then 2 seconds. He has 1 starting offensive lineman for him right now.
That's true. They
So it's
did
just like
lose
even if
2 of the
they
IR, right?
yeah, and then the one guy got a game suspension for steroids. Like it's just like if some of them start to come back, then we can have the conversation of even picking them up. But like right now, they're like he's on 2 backup wide receivers. He's on a backup tight end. He's on 4 of the 5 backup linemen. Like I'm just like there's 1 starting piece with him and as the running back. Like when the season started, there's one out of the 11,
Wow.
and that's the guy who probably matters the least for him. And so it's just like until we need like 70% of those guys back for me to look at Matthew Stafford again, because it was just like watching it. I'm just like, and because he's not young, he's not. It'd be one thing if it was like a Washington Commanders guy,
Daniels, yeah.
Jaden Daniels, run around who's got some mobility. And I think Matthew
Ad
Stafford
lib, yeah.
mobility. He's running around like an old man trying to survive, and I'm just like, dude, like there's nothing
Yeah.
here. It looked like Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl against the Patriot or the Bucks. Where as soon as he snapped, he'd be like, I'm just running, like kind of thing, and like, but Matthew Stafford can't run, so it's just like he's like, I gotta throw this quick, and just like chucks it basically. And some of the plays he made were just like he's getting tackled by guys, started on throwing it, and he threw it like 20 yards and completed it. And I remember seeing on Twitter, no one's talking about it because it's not a thing. And then some of the guys I follow are quarterback people are like, oh my god, that is like the best throw I've seen in like 6 years. And I'm like, he did that, and they lost 18-24 to the Bears because it didn't matter because
Right.
he's it. Like, and I'm just like, he just did that, and no one's ever going to talk about it. So I'm glad a couple other sickos on Twitter saw it too. But I was just like, yeah, that's it. So yeah, it'd take a lot for him to come back. If you still roster Deshaun Watson, we're done there. Like, dude's toast. I don't know what to tell you. Toast.
Yeah, I don't know what happened because last year
done. I don't know what we're doing.
wasn't last year he is at least competent. This looks just
Really,
so
he was really
weird.
bad last year too, and so
At least he made his wide receivers look good.
yeah,
I'm just
bit,
like,
yeah, it's toast. Why is Tom Brady rostered in 1% of leagues? But sorry, I just saw that. Like,
because he dropped that info about the Bears almost signing him in 2020, and
there you go. But yeah, I think that it's funny that people are dropping Tua when you see how important he is. This man is important to that team. So I was like, Baker Mayfield's getting dropped after a 30-point game. I feel that's kind of weird, but yeah, he had some games in there though. He had a 9-point game at Denver. That Denver game was so random. Can you believe that? Like Denver, Bo Nix, they're going nuts, and they had -2 yards of passing. What? And then the Bucks just dump on the Eagles. I'm like, what happened in week 2? You were great. You were hot. Terrible. Great again. You're awful. Awful. Great. Terrible. Like, it was just like it was just a combo of the game, man. It just happened. So Baker Mayfield still buying. Played great. Trevor Lawrence, I'm starting to get down on. Not gonna lie. I 33% rostered. It's too high for Trevor Lawrence at this point. I'm just kind of out on him.
Caleb Williams only threw 23 attempts in the win.
Yeah.
I was wondering because like, man, he'd been throwing a ton.
Yeah.
Because I just like all these. I'm agreeing with you on the quarterbacks, and so now I'm just like, oh man, who do you pick up instead? It's just like,
yeah, Caleb Williams at 52 is too high. Yeah,
I feel like Derek Carr. I know he started off hot in the last 2 weeks. It's been under 10 points, which is awful. Especially these defenses he's facing. He has a pretty nice schedule for the whole year. It's kind of shaping up, but no, Olave was healthy. Like I didn't watch that game either, but like trying to figure out, like I feel like I would expect Carr to even out. I think I'd rather roll the dice than some of these kind of other dumpster fires we're highlighting.
Yeah. Mine are a Sam Darnold and I just love that situation. Maybe even a little Andy Dalton because they're going to be down so they're going to throw it. And then, like you said, Derek Carr. I think those are the three. If you need somebody, you go after one of those three. Because I just some of these other guys we said like 30%. I don't get it. So I just don't get it. The old running backs. It's just so running backs. It's hard. Cam Akers at Houston looked really good. They also have an injury to Pierce. So not Pierce. Damian Pierce. So it's I think, and he looked really efficient. So Cam Akers is nice. Other than that, though, like Hubbard got he did get 18 touches. He's rostered 20%, 80% of leagues. I don't feel like I could talk about him too much. Yeah, I'm just not. Carson Steele's kind of going down. I feel like who did they just pick up? Kareem Hunt got a lot of touches.
Yeah.
I feel like he's the guy to go after now. Other than that, though, like guys you gotta pick up. Well, I will say Tyler Batty, good for you for being okay, because that was pretty scary during the game. Got stretchered off to the hospital, so but it's good, but definitely not rosterable. Sorry. Anybody in a 49ers uniform if Jordan Mason goes down, because I don't know if you've heard, CMC is pretty hurt. So that's not good. Kind of a weird year. Was hurt before the season, and then it got way worse as we're finding out more about it. So we don't know how long it's gonna be out. So, but other than that, like all these guys, I feel like anybody's like, oh, picking up this guy, they're already rostered at a decent percent of leagues. Bucky Irving, not sold. Tampa Bay, sorry, I don't like their running attack at all.
I'm interested in Braylon Allen.
Jets, right?
Yeah, especially to handcuff if you've got Brees, but I feel like I don't know. Is he gonna take away goal line work? Because it's like the quote from Coach Sala was kind of like, "Yeah, we're going to reevaluate the goal line situations." It's just he's been super efficient, and
Okay.
I just at this point I'm just kind of like, I might take a flyer on him. Same thing with Bucky Irving in Tampa Bay. They're both rostered same percentages, basically 52-53% Yahoo. Bucky Irving has been super efficient, and I feel like he's earned
More of
like I would say 50-50 carry. I mean, he had 10 carries. He had the touchdown. He just is electric. He just looks so shifty watching him, and Rashad White has just not been efficient at all. So it's just like, I mean, they've haven't had a great schedule as far as running backs go, but
that team has not been very good at running the ball for a long time. So I've probably been scarred from the Bucks, like trying to get a running back there. So you could. I feel like it's pretty bleak. So Bucky and Braylon Allen are probably the two. Chuba Hubbard, sorry, would be one. But again, he's rostered in 81% of leagues. So, but if for some reason he's not yours, that's probably one those are three I would look at. But I wouldn't be spending a lot of money on either of these three.
nah.
Ones I'm like get away from are Zamir White, who I have rostered in a league. It's just
Yes.
He's got like 10 points on the season. Probably a little less. It's a joke, but maybe 12. He's maybe got 12 on the season. Ezekiel Elliott, 70% rostered. He's lost his job to oh man, I can't remember say his name.
Daddle? Or was it
Rico.
Rico?
He's that's his job. I think it's only going to get worse from here on out. So Zeke just has nothing. He just has nothing in those legs. He's averaging like 2 yards a pop. Like it's done. Jalen Warren had a bunch of hype coming into the season. Nothing. Big old nothing burgers. So Austin Eckler too. He's just been. Oh, I guess. How did he get? Oh, he got a touchdown. I was like, those numbers are awful, but touchdown. But I just don't see any running efficiency is just not there for Austin Eckler, and I don't see it. And Washington, this is like peak. Washington scoring on every drive, and Austin Eckler has got 10 points in one game.
Yeah.
It'll never get better than this. And Austin Eckler's like, can't do it. So I'm like, I feel like, okay, if it's only gonna get worse, and that's where your max is. Okay, I was almost that way with DeAndre Swift, and then he went off for like 26. But you're still like, I'm looking out
Oh,
because you caught
yep.
7 passes for 70 yards. That really helped you out, and you did have a nice running game. But like, I'm not banking on the 7 for 72 every game. So like, we need to see some running efficiency again. So you're still on notice, buddy. Jerome Ford again. Like anyone on that Cleveland offense, I feel like unless you get your wide receiver with a touchdown or something. I was explaining to my wife this weekend. She goes like, "Who is it?" I go, it was between him and Tyler. And this is correct. What do you think of this, JT? I go, you're down by some and you need a boom. I feel like Tyler's a boom. There's no way Ford is ever going to boom. It's never going to happen. But he can get
Yeah.
you 7. You know he's going to get you 7. Does Tyler get you 7? Maybe, maybe not. But Tyler's more likely to get you 14.
Right.
And so
Super.
I feel like that's like the boom. And like, yeah, I guess Ford did get 12, including his 7 catches again. Jeez, what's up with 7 catches for 20 yards, by the way, though. So
Okay.
it did not go great. So like it was really artificial 10 points. So I feel like, yeah, like he's gonna get you 8 points, but that's it. And as a running back, I'm like, you could roster him, but like, be like a bye week flex or something like that if you're destroyed. But he's rostered in 82% of leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. Zach Charbonnet, 80%. You could cut him in a bunch of leagues. He should be rostered about 60 because Kenneth Walker gets hurt a lot. Because he showed very efficient or very effective when he starts. Yeah, I mean he dropped an average of 19 points in a start. Great, but like when he doesn't start, it's not worth it. So I think those are the big drops that I got. Or guys, I'm like, if you need to, yeah, I think those are it. All right, JT, what wide receivers you loving or hating?
All right, wide receiver. Let's switch it up here. Okay. So, well, Malik Neighbors is the talk of the town. So, just a hat tip to the rookie. Let's just put it that way. He looks so good.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of like fantasy, I feel like the first one that stands out to me being up here successful through the first 4 weeks is Lazard. 36% rostered, and it hasn't been like that first game was really big against San Francisco, but I feel like it's in this territory of like, would I rather have Lazard, who's definitely the wide receiver 2 on that team overall in fantasy? I think we're probably saying wide receiver 3 or 4. Would I rather have him? And like most recently, I talked about was it Shakir with Buffalo, because not really any big wide receiver 1 emerging, but they
Yep.
had a nice schedule coming up, and he's super efficient in catching, and it's just like, I don't know who I would take, but that's kind of my equivalency right now. And at least we know that, like, depending on the defense and situation, if they lock down Garrett, the Jets and
Which is what they've been doing.
Rodgers
Yeah.
has the rapport with Lazard, it's just like 36% rostered. I feel like he deserves a bump.
He got 8 points in a game where people didn't throw balls. So like at one point was got us the record for least passing yards in an NFL game, and he got 58 yards. Someone's like, oh, it's 8 point, but like it was so bad. Like it was. I think Bo Nix won and threw for 60 something yards on the day. So
Mm-hmm.
like that was actually a very good day for anybody in that game. So I'm really encouraged with that. Like we talked about, like 24 fantasy points week 1. Tennessee, rough, but comes back with 12 and a half, and then comes back with probably, I don't know if one guy scored a touchdown in that game. So that probably had the most points, but like just sheer yards, he probably had the most yards in the whole game for any person. So I'm like, that was like amazing for me. So yeah, Alan Lazard for sure. I go Deontay Johnson. What's he rostered in? Oh, he's rostered in 88% of leagues now. Yeah, he needs to be rostered in like 90 something. With Andy Dalton, it has been just the go show. So yeah, awesome. People keep like, I keep seeing this, and it's the Rams. And it's the Rams have 4 guys that keep just like, 1 week you pick it up, then you're picking up this guy, then you're stop.
Oh yeah.
I fell for it. I think I've had 3. I've had Tutu, and then I had Demarcus Robinson, and then I had Tyler Johnson. at some point. I was like, it's gonna be somebody, and it didn't matter. It's the answer was none of them. So if you need to roster one of them and hope to get lucky, go for it. I did that with Xavier Leggett today with last week with Carolina, and he
Yeah.
scored. I think that will continue. Maybe not to the extent I probably won't start him because I had to start him due to injuries. But being on my bench, 25% rostered, he probably should be closer to 40. But like that's that. All the Rams should be about 25% rostered because you don't know. It's going to be the class. It's going to be the classic Saints with Drew Brees, but just worse. Because
Oh
they're going
gosh.
to have 2 touchdown games at 100 yards. They're going to be like, you might get a touchdown in 50 yards. And that's the best case scenario for any of the 3. So you're just like, I just hope I hit the one. And the ones you don't hit are going to get you like 4 points. And that's all. Like, I don't really want to mess with that if I don't have to. So I what is it, the poker table, the blackjack table, they do the thing, and I'm like, I'm out. Like, I'm just with all of that.
Surrender.
Yeah, I've been really pleased with all the Texans receivers. Nico Collins, Tank has been hurt, so that does help. But Nico and Diggs, they're getting all their stuff, so that's been good to see. Receivers, anybody else that I'm just like in love with?
I'm looking at a equivalent to Lazard, Wandale Robinson.
I literally clicked on and was looking at him, and I was
I'm
looking at
just like, when
yeah,
you have that much volume and you're going to be behind in games, and again, Neighbors is talk of the town, and he's
at
going to get all
some
the
point we got to
coverage.
double Neighbors, right? Triple Neighbors,
Yeah, but
right?
when
Like
he,
somebody has to get like single coverage, right?
yeah, and might as well be a Wandale Robinson. I mean, dude, don't forget, second round pick, and what, injured last year, right?
Yeah,
It's just like he's he's ready to prove himself, and I mean that's in
it was
terms
like
of like PPR or half PPR, and we're talking about fantasy. It's just like there's a lot of passes to go around it for
yeah,
that game
yeah.
script.
Because I mean, one guy I was gonna say was it Singletary, the Giants receiver, wide running back. We're done. I roster him. I'm just like, unless I have to play you out. So their running game is just atrocious. So they're always in long situations. They just need to throw the ball. And I remember watching the Thursday night game, just had it on, and the first pass is to Neighbors. And it was a ball, and the camera pans, and I'm like, that receiver's really open. That's great. Or like, like, wow, that, and I'm like, that's Neighbors? Like, how did you not cover the guy, like Dallas? Like, what are we doing? It's the first play of the game, and Neighbors is like, there's no one else on the screen. And I'm like, come on. I'm like, you mess up coverage, mess it up somewhere else. It should never happen because there's always be 2 guys on him. And then they kind of like, okay, let's figure this out. And I'm just like, okay, once they start clamping down on this, he's still got 12 passes. I'm just like, it's got to be Wando. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's got to be. So I was like, that's a good call. I think he has to be rostered and more because I think more's coming. Because they're like, look, we can't let, if we're an NFL team and we're week, 10 and Malik Neighbors is on pace for the most receptions ever for a rookie, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
he's on pace for like 150 or something like that. We got to cover this guy. It's the Giants. Make Wandell beat you, and I feel like he can catch passes, and he should. And so, yeah, he'll get in the end zone. He'll make it worth your while. So I think I like Wandell.
So the top receiver in targets, not counting tonight's 2 Monday night games, is Neighbors, and Wandale has the fourth most.
Yeah,
Combined, they have 90 targets together.
Yeah, no,
That's crazy.
Yeah, just ripping it, and so it's only been getting better for Wandell too. I feel like it's week 1 was a lot, but like he's just like they're establishing that like you're a dude, you're number 2. Let's do the thing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's go time for them. So I'm
and we've seen the Facebook reels of what is it, not the 30 for 30 with the NFL, but like they're in the room with the GM and they're talking about, well, when Saquon, if he doesn't leave, what are we doing? We're trying to build around, Jones. We want a top wide receiver for him. It's just like, well, you got what you got. You let Saquon go for some reason, but like this is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, like you're not going to win still, but like this is fun. Just air it out and
pump
up those fantasy numbers.
You need an offensive line and a quarterback, but then you'll be good. You'll be entertaining.
Yeah.
And you keep losing, you might get a quarterback. I think, man, other other people. Gabe Davis. Oh, he's only 40% roster, but yeah, my wife was asking about him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd be pretty much done with Gabe Davis completely. Again, most Charger wide receivers, they're touchdown dependent. I feel like now, just with like Herbert's injury, everyone was like, "Let's find a wide receiver for him." And we talked about it. It's just he's hurt so bad, like he's limping. Like it's they're not going to feed wide receivers. They're not going to put Justin Herbert in that situation. So you could kind of get rid of all. Again, if you had to roster one, but understand like you got to get a touchdown. Maybe Lad McConkey is like the guy, but even then, he's cracked 44 more than 44 yards one time in 4 games. I just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it has 7 targets on the most. We just talked about it. Wando Robinson had double-digit targets this week. And so I'm just like, they're just not throwing it enough, and I don't think they're going to anytime soon. So, anybody else? I'm seeing guys that are getting dropped. I feel like it's too early. Like, they're Jalen Waddle dropping. It's Tua. You need your quarterback back, and then you'll be fine. The talent is undeniable. You'll be fine.
Yeah, if you want to drop a Waddle or a Tyreek, please just trade him.
Yeah,
for 80 cents on the dollar.
Yeah,
like,
if you're frustrated with these guys, yeah, there are value out there. Just like, what are you? You know what I mean? Yeah.
At the same time, Tua's reported symptom free. Technically, could be week 8. You're in week 4. You just completed it. I mean, like, it's tough to wait. I understand, but don't drop him. At least trade him.
Trade him or fight on the waiver wire or something else and sit him for a couple weeks. Like, it's no different than an injury. Treat it as that.
Like, to me, Amari Cooper, who I have in a couple leagues, at least he's my wide receiver 4 or lower. So it's like I'm not having to. I'm like, I might try to trade it for just something.
He's rumored to be being talked about to the Kansas City Chiefs, JT. So I might hold off on that one.
Ooh, okay.
Chiefs called because depending on how Rice's injury is, when I think they towards the ACL, they're like, we want that guy. And if that immediately changes that man's outlook. Like,
a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I'd hold off just a couple weeks on that one. Like
75,000 on that one. I owe you. Might want to hang on to that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
we don't have to talk about tight ends. This is like
good.
These are the most dad bod people on the team, I feel like, but we don't talk about it because again, they are touchdown dependent. If I felt Brock Bowers has been nice. I like my pick on Brock Bowers for the most part. Has been rough the last couple weeks, but like he's got 2 weeks where he's got 9+ points out of 4 for like a round 14 pickup tight end. There we go. Like that's fine. Like again, like I'm not spending a first round pick. I don't even know what else to say on any of these. Like what else is there? Like
it's weird because like you're like, oh, Dallas Goedert, and it's just like, well, when AJ's healthy or Devonta's not getting like the worst,
Devontae Smith's out too. Yeah,
it's just like that's gonna come back to normal, so Dallas won't be as prevalent. It's just week in and week out.
The pickup of the 2 highest pickups are Cole Kmet and Zach Ertz over 30%, and both of them got less than 30 yards this last week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, Cole Kmet got 34.
34.
Like I'm like, that's what we're like. Oh my god, you got 34 yards. I'm gonna pick you up, and I'm just like it is what it is. There's wrong choices like backup guys. I've been rocking because I had an injury. I've been rocking Kobe Parkinson for a couple weeks, and he's getting me like 4 points, and I'm like, that's fine. Not 4 points, but like 6 points in half-point PPR, and I'm like 6 points, I'll take it, like because at least I know like he got me 6 last week, and I'm like it's fine. I know it's not a 0. I can't get shut out. At least I got to get something. You know what I mean? Like people are like Hunter Henry. I remember a couple weeks ago he got 2, and so I'm just like Colby Parkinson is just get me 6. Just get me 6. Just get me 6. Like it's awful. It looks awful on my score sheet, but I'm like it's 6. Like I need my other team to get me some points, but tight ends are just I'm not waiting around that pool. If you're just gonna keep getting me 6, I'll live with you. Like I don't like doing defenses because I feel like defenses is week to week, but we could talk about like next week if we want, like week 5 defenses. The Raiders play Denver. You got Dolphins, New England. Both defenses, sign me up. Like, let's figure it out. Someone's gonna score a touchdown, maybe. I don't know. Is there a defense you hate, JT, or like, or well, hate's pretty easy.
Let me get over defense. Sorry, it was kind of lagging.
No, you're good.
I was getting really in depth with the tight ends for a second, but you talked me out of it.
You'll go down the rabbit hole, JT. You can spend a lot of your time doing that, and then I used to focus on tight ends. I'd be like, oh, tight ends, and then I'd be like, it's never worth your time. It's really never worth your time. Like, it's you're always just like, I want to spend all this time and invest in this tight end, and then they're like, and then you're like, you get outscored by a guy who scored. I almost lost 2 weeks ago because a backup tight end scored a touchdown in the game. I almost lost. And I'm like, what? You picked up a backup tight end because you didn't check. George Kittle was out. You didn't notice until the 1 o'clock games. Had to pick up a Sunday night guy, and it was a backup tight end for the Jags, and he scored a touchdown. Like that, like he outscored my tight end. I had Dalton Kincaid of the Bills, and he outscored my tight end. And I'm like, that's what it is. Like, like that's the position of tight ends. Like, so that story explains to you everything you know about tight ends.
You think New England's defense could pick on this Miami team?
Yeah. They got kind of torched by the Titans offense. So, I think that game I'm cool with either. I don't think New England offense is very good. So I'm cool with both defenses if you want to run. It obviously depends on who your defense is. But if you got free agent ability, I would I'd go both of those defenses. What are they rostered in? 72 for the Dolphins. Maybe not if they're not available, but I think it's a good pickup if they are. If you're in the 30% of leagues that can roster them.
Yeah, because New England is 4%. I'm like, well, might super available.
Yeah, I think New England's fine. Again, defenses like tight ends. It comes down to turnover luck usually most of the time. Some sacks are nice, but turnover luck's usually what turns it. And if you could tell me how a guy tip ball is going to land in someone's hand, I got like some questions about lotto tickets for you. So I don't. Obviously, they're more talented teams tend to do it more often, but like the biggest play is a pick six, and you can tell me no guy's going to tip a ball or throw a ball straight to a wide lotto numbers, please.
It reminds me of a clip I just saw. This lotto winner guy was interviewed outside. He's like, yeah, 20 some years ago, he won 45 million in the lotto, and this is the first 3 things you need. You need a tax attorney, you need an accountant, you need all this stuff. And I was just like, well, the 4th thing should have been a barber because his haircut was just weird. It was reminding me of the Raiders owner. What's his name?
What is the Davis's son's name? I don't know, but I know exactly the haircut.
Yeah. So it was
you're talking about in your head. Like,
well, it wasn't that haircut, but I was just like, dude has money and a bad haircut. Reminds me of the Raiders owner, where the hair literally, it was just like, it wasn't a comb over, but it literally just like he combed it to just one side. It was like shoulder length, but it all just flipped to one side. It was a big tidal wave.
It is crazy how easy it is to be hot when you have money. Like the perfect example is go look at early seasons of The Office and then look at them now.
Yeah.
Like they're just hotter and they're older. I don't blame them for it, but like they're just you have people that can help take care of the actual products, time to do things. You probably afford to sleep, which is a big one for parents. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like, yeah, like
wasn't what's his name? Why am I saying Michael Scott? Please tell me the actor's name.
Carell.
Thank you. Gosh, wasn't he kind of slapped on the wrist when he got the hair plugs done?
Yeah. On the show, yeah.
They're like, oh, you're not an everyman now, and he
he got a tan, he got in shape and everything. That's why I do the slim European cut shirt, kind of, because he was kind of in good shape right then and there, The take off from his body, he was like, it's European cut, the whole joke, and like, to take away from how good he was looking. But yeah, so, I don't know where we've got on that. It's pretty late, so, pick up Raiders. Dolphins and New England, and watch the Dolphins and New England game and hate your life. So I think that's a recommendation there.
Yeah. Any kickers? We're just talking about everybody. We can't leave out the kickers if we talked about tight ends.
Kickers.
How about this? I saw a petition to get kicker points at changed from 50 plus to do a bracket from 50 to 59 and then do a 60 plus for points.
At this point, it should be 60 plus. There's dudes kicking them 60 now. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that could be a fun standard
What
to
are your
update.
thoughts on missed kicks? Should they be negatives? Should they be what should they be? Should extra points be? Like what are your stance on kicking rules?
I feel like I like the negative, but I would like
Or just a
I would
missed
li-
field goal? I have one, JT. Here we go.
well, the further the distance, I feel
Yes.
like the less the penalization because it's just odds,
I
right?
say under 50 -2, past 50 -1. It's just a nice little barrier. Missed extra point -3. And I don't mind it, and I know technically we could have closer kicks than extra points, but I still just like it's the extra point. You got to put the ball where you want. You get everything situated the way you want on the extra point. You should be able to make those. You should be able to hit those.
Extra points 35 these days, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could almost do like -1, -2, -3, have
yeah.
like 3 tiers and do that like 35 and then 35 to what you're saying, like what 50 or whatever, and then 50 plus or something like that.
If my guy's trying out a 62-yarder, I shouldn't be penalized the same as the guy who's kicking at 15 yards. You know what I mean? Like if it's on the 1 yard line you're kicking, I shouldn't be penalized the same as the guy kicking 64 to end a half. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jason Myers. It's 2. I saw the first one, and then I'm like,
You don't got a leg for 60. Come on.
I get on my phone later, and it's the third quarter, and I was running the dogs, and I'm like, my phone's glitching. It said he missed another 60, and then I had to like get on a different app just to verify. I'm like, and that's when I texted you. I was like, "Are you kidding me, 2?" I'm like, gosh, darn it!
I had you, and then that Williams touchdown goes 70 for a TD, and I'm like, oh there it goes. I didn't honestly even look at our matchup. I saw that because I was like, taking care of kids, putting kids to bed. Wasn't really looking at matchups. Didn't care a whole lot. I was like, I wonder what I'm doing here, because I have the 2 money leagues, honestly, which I'm kind of more in tabs with. And then I was like, okay, let's see how the home league's doing. Because that's the part about football is like you've said it. It's like it's what it is at this point. It was a Monday night game. It's the last game. We both had one guy going.
Right.
You were projected to win, so I was like, whatever. I was like, I need a monster game, but I knew Kenneth Walker already had 3 touchdowns. I think at that point, I was like, I think I'm ahead of JT. And then I didn't even know you had Williams. I forgot about it. And I look at him like, wow, I have a lot of points. I'm like, JT has a lot of points now too. What happened? And like he has Williams on that 70-yard touchdown. I was like, that's what sold it. If you hadn't got that 70-yard touchdown that Jared got through off his back foot and threw a prayer, you got it. Like, it's not that it was because he's wide open, but like I'm just like I watched from Jared Goff's perspective, and I was like telling him, I was like, you need to get him off his mark, you need to get him, and he is backpedaling off his back foot. It's like, oh my god, and like panicking completely. And I'm like, that's exactly from the Seahawks defense. I want Jared Goff to look like that. And I went for 70 touchdown.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Jared Goof shows up a lot of those times in that situation, and it did not. It was so open, it didn't show up. You know, he could not have been more open. And so I was just like, oh, they caught it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's the play that cost me that game. I was like, but then it's one of those where it's like I needed 3 touchdowns to even make it a game. You know what I mean? Like, so it's
right.
like it is what it is. It is what it is. I deserve to lose, and I lost. It didn't matter how I lose. It's all right. It happens. It happens.
Yeah. I set my football lineups, but I'll be honest, I was full baseball mindset today with the double headers.
Yeah.
And both of my championships losing, and just is what it is. And
but those were some games though for in real baseball talk. Those were
holy cow! The game 1.
Yeah, game 1 was nuts. That was like I kept looking. I was in a meeting and I kept looking. I was like, oh my gosh, they hit another. I was like, did it get? I was like, do you know how many times today in like an hour span? Because the first couple of games went by, and in about an hour, I to myself thought about 6 different times. I went, is that a replay or did they just do it again? Like,
yeah.
And it was like different teams. It was like going back and forth because I'm paying attention and like or like because I'm helping people. It's not like a work meeting. It's like, oh, let's help. I need help with this math or something like that. I'm like, okay, I'll help you. And I'm like, at the corner of my eye, I'm like, again? Like what? Like
again? Yeah.
They hit another home run. Or is this a replay from the first? I'm like, no, he's around the bases, and the Mets are pretty psyched about it. Like I was like, okay, like I think I was live. Like, oh my gosh, that first game was nuts. And the second game, it was really close. I mean, like it could have one swing. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and sorry, D-backs fans, I'm sorry. Like that's, you know, there are three teams paying attention to those games, man. That was just it was a pretty good doubleheader of actual real baseball. It was pretty spicy. So
Yeah, it was well worth it.
yeah, that was good.
Um,
That was good to have afternoon baseball and watch that. So have that in the background while you're working. It was pretty spicy.
yeah, cool.
I think that's it. Oh, I got a dad bod.
Do it.
Oh, I'm gonna butcher his name. Korean kicker for the Falcons.
Cool.
Yes. Dude kicks his long of his career as time's expiring to win the game, and everyone's like, he had like a 56-yard make before, and they're like, I don't know if it's beyond, much beyond 55, and it's got to be the juice or something like that because he cleared that sucker and I swear he had it from further, and I was just like, there we go, and so it was pretty. He's kind of a jacked kicker too. You know what I mean? I'm always
Yeah.
one of a jacked kicker. So, but yeah, kicked his career long when the announcer kind of doubted him, and yeah, so good for you.
There you go. Our buddy Chase, who's
Oh
down
yeah,
in
yeah,
Georgia,
yeah.
he messaged me last week. He was at the Falcons game for that was a primetime game, wasn't it?
The Chiefs, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
He said Joey Chestnut was like the ambassador, or I don't know, something. He had a picture of him. And I was like, oh, sweet. And Chase and I's running joke is Joey Chestnut's the greatest athlete of all time, period. Because everyone eats. It's the one thing
Everyone eats.
that we all do.
Time out. Okay, time out. There's two things then that it could be the greatest. The person who holds their breath the longest and the person who eats the most. Because everybody does both.
Yes, that type of vein, I agree.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in terms of like that. So
Okay.
I was like, what's the goat of all goats doing? And he's just like, guess what? It is like all you can eat glizzies. He goes, you can only get 2 at a time. He goes, I've seen dudes just get 2 and get right back in line and eat the 2 while they're waiting in line again.
You're not even at the game anymore then.
I know. And he's just like, we got a cheap ticket. It was like $300 a seat. And it's him and his wife. And he's just like, could you imagine just being
$300 a seat?
or no, maybe it's total. Maybe it's total. But either way, we were doing the math on like, okay, it's free glizzies, but you paid for $300 for like 2 of you to go.
Yeah.
Like you still get a better deal at Costco, but like it's just like it's just I'm like, could you picture a guy just like doing that on repeat and just watching the whole game, but in the stadium, but like from afar on a TV because he's just like he wants to eat as many hot dogs as he wants.
What's the price of a hot dog at the stadium? Actually, I've heard Atlanta actually has really good prices. But like, let's just say,
Atlanta has the best. I remember a picture on Twitter, and they put out a spread of food actually on this bench, and they're like, "This is all you can get for $20," and it was just like you could feed 2 full adults, or like
Let's say normal stadium. What's a hot dog like? $3?
Well, I know MLB was the talk of the town. It's anywhere from 4 to 8, depending on if you're
$4. $4.
Mm-hmm.
So like. Oh, that's a lot of glizzies. Man, I'm just trying to think here.
Well, 25 would be $100 worth of value, right? And Joey Chestnut eats somewhere in the 60s, 70s in his 12-minute binge. But I don't even know if someone could do that like over the course of a couple hours.
So to get a $150 ticket, to get $4 hot dogs, you need to eat 9 1/4. To get $1 for hot dog. A little over 9 1/4. And it's like 9.3. That's too much. It's too many. And you do it for 4 quarters. You can't even just do it for one and be like, I had 9 hot dogs. You have 3 more quarters to do it to make up your money.
That sounds more excruciating than just what's the simple one? The beer inning.
The 999 challenge? That sounds That sounds because like glizzies is one thing, but it's just like the fluid of the beers. You know what I mean? Like it's just so much liquid. It feels like that's what would get me is like I probably couldn't even do the hot dogs, but like it's just I'd have to drink the beers, and it's just like all that liquid would just sit in my belly, and I'd
Because
be like,
it's
oh
not a 12-ounce beer. It's
no,
probably
they
16 or
usually
20
yeah, and I'm
or
just like I could drink 9 like 20-ounce beers, like that just is like if you told me just to do that, I'd be like, oh my god, that's so much liquid. Just even water bottle, like just like water bottles. I'm like, that's just like a lot of liquid. Like, and then
I
these people just feel terrible afterwards. You know it too. Or we're almost in our 40s. It's probably how we view it as 40-year-olds. But like maybe we're in our 20s. We're probably ripping the 999 challenge. But like nowadays,
probably.
I'd give it a shot
I
for my 20s. But like in the dorms, oh yeah, like.
Oh yeah.
But like
Just
now,
had
like
I had a Kevin Malone moment just now. I was like, I don't know if I could do the 999. I was like, but if it's Slurpees, I'm there. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing?
yeah,
Like Kevin Malone's like, he doesn't know math, but then when you put it in terms of like money to food,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's on it,
Yeah,
right?
he's on it. Yeah,
I was just like,
yeah.
no way I could drink 180 ounces of beer, but if it's Slurpee, I'd be there. I'd be all about it.
You've
And I'm
done
like,
it.
why would that
Yeah, well,
change anything? It's
it
still
is
the
a
same
Slurpee
amount.
of liquid, though, JT. Let's get to the bottom of this. Yeah.
Uh,
What
I,
consistency is snow? Like, what do you class? Is it? It's not raining. It's not like wet. It's not
right?
dry. Like,
Sleet.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What is snow? So okay. Good to know. Good to know. So yeah, we got. That's yeah. Now we're learning about glizzies. Now we're learning about glizzies. You learn a lot here. You got to eat 9 glizzies a quarter to get your money worth on a $150 ticket. There you go. I got to be honest. I bought a hot dog at I went to my last Mariner game, and it was okay. I think it was only $3, but yeah, I got too much food. I think I got too much food, and I was like, I don't want to eat this whole hot dog. Mistake. I think I had a full meal of food, and then I had some of the wife's food, and then I got dessert, and then I got another hot dog, and I was like, what am I? And I ordered the hot dog. And was like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Anyways, so I don't
Now,
know. You know, it's
now
just
that
too
I've
fat for me.
trimmed,
Get it?
yeah, now that I've trimmed down again, bread is just overrated. Like I'm like, it fills you up too much. Like we were at a wedding. Oh yeah, we went to a wedding. Forgot to highlight that. We went to a wedding, and it was barbecue was
Okay. Yep.
catered,
Yep.
and I went back for seconds, and they had this like roasted pineapple sauce on
Okay.
the pulled pork. It was so good, and literally my plate was just pulled pork, some coleslaw, and some beans. But I was just like, people were grabbing the rolls and all this. I'm
Okay.
just like, it's not worth it anymore. And plus, I'm just not doing that anymore. But I was just like, I
I
remember like a hot dog would be great with the bun and everything. Now I'm just like, I'd rather have like 2 dogs and no bun than one hot dog fully.
fully I get yeah, I do like if I do the barbecue, I'll do what you did. I'll do the first plate, I'll do the roll just as like a sort of like
Little bit of
a pound, like a
everything.
break of the bite.
Yeah.
It's like a break of the bite. Okay, but on the second plate, yeah, you can't do a roll again. You've got to do I just do the meat, and I do the same thing with the vegetables. I probably should be doing the more vegetables. I'm like, this is a waste of what I got here. I came for
Hmm.
pulled pork or brisket or something like that. I'm like, what are we doing? Get this out of my face. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah. No, my second plate was like a quarter slaw and then 3/4 of a
yeah,
full plate was
yeah,
pulled pork.
yeah.
Like I
Who
came
cares?
back with a
Weird.
full, like 3/4 of a pound was my second plate. I don't know. It was like up in Othello. It was some
Oh,
lodge place on a
okay.
lake, a private deal.
Because I'm a
Um,
big like barbecue place that do mac and cheese. I'm like, oh, give me some of that mac and cheese. Throw that on
that,
there too. I'm all about it. I'm all
yeah,
about it. I'm all about it. Now,
yeah.
now I want barbecue. Now I want barbecue and mac and cheese. Well, look what we did. It's late at night, and I gotta find a barbecue place. There we go.
You want to know pro tip here? We'll leave you with the pro tip. Go to Dickie's on Sundays. Kids eat free for every one adult. One kid eats
Okay.
free, and then at the end of it, free ice cream. They just have an ice cream machine that you just go. So another pro tip for all the like 15-year-olds that want to go on a cheap date these days, you go for root beer floats. You pay $3 for the really big yellow cup there at Dickie's, and they have the unlimited ice cream. So you get the root beer, you fill it with ice cream, and you have unlimited of that. Cheap date, boom, you're welcome. All the 14, 15-year-olds looking to do
JT,
something fun.
Those
And then they got the
40 kids
Simpsons
probably,
game.
probably
The arcade Simpsons game, free. Don't even have to pay quarters
dang.
for
See,
it.
now that's a deal breaker. Our deal, like you said in the stone there, JT, 15-year-olds you're probably doing like crazy stuff. They're probably ripping stuff
It's
we never
true.
even heard of. Like
It's
you
true.
gotta be talking like 11-year-olds at that point. Like I feel like these 15-year-olds are like we were like at 18. I just like what happened. But yeah, you're right. You're right. That
Yeah.
Dickies. You want to know something? I've never had Dickies.
I think
Never.
it's solid.
Yeah,
It's
I
it's
should.
a
I should.
chain technically, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
like meh,
I
it's
should. We're
okay.
just partial to Porters. I went to high school with him,
Oh,
so
for sure.
good
Yeah.
dude. Good dude. So we support that, but yeah, I need to probably hit up some Dickies too. Just give it a shot. Like you said, when you said the kids eat free, that's really that's nice. That's a nice.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat.
So
It's hard to
yeah. Depending, you're spending like 40, $50. You're feeding the whole family. You get free ice cream at the end, and then you can play some Simpsons
Oh
arcade
yeah.
for
Oh
free.
yeah. Who'd you play? Who do you play as?
Well, I let the kids.
Yeah, obviously you're gonna do that, but like, let's say it's you first on the controller. No one cares. Who you pick?
I'm okay with either Bart or I don't know. Like I don't. The mom's got some range with that
Yeah.
purse swing.
Yeah. Doesn't
But
she have a vacuum? Doesn't
Lisa's
she have a
oh
vacuum?
yeah, the vacuum.
Yeah.
Lisa's got some range with the rope. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. I'm really okay with anybody but Homer. Really.
Yeah, I was gonna say I do not pick Homer, but the mom at the range with the vacuum, like she's noticeably like swings it further than everybody else. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a nice pick. If it's not her, I go Bart. Then after that, but yeah, Homer's last.
Right.
Homer's last.
Yeah. Bart seems faster side to side,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
more
He's on the
agile.
skateboard. He moves, but she's got the
But
range. She can like pack a punch from way further. So those two for sure. Then I'm like, okay, then Lisa, then
yeah.
Homer. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Cool.
nice.
All right. Shout out Young Co, Clutch King Co. I'm seeing on Twitter. So
There you
if
go.
you want to tweet at us any week 5 questions, fancy dad pods. Otherwise, he is Sean. I'm JT. As always, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you listening. Take care, be well, and until next time, see ya.
Yeah.